go ahead and record the meeting.
All right, so today we have a very special guest. We have Eric Belardo, who's going to talk to us about his experience in cybersecurity. I think with that, Eric, I think you could take it away.
All right. Welcome, everybody. And thank you very much for having me here today in your speaker series to talk to you guys about my experiences. I am going to start here by sharing a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Eric Belardo, and I have been in the field of cybersecurity now for 35 years. I started out in cyber in the late 80s when it was not even called cybersecurity. It was, the people in the back room, doing I started with large mainframes and programming in punch cards and different things. I spent a little bit of time in the military, about 8.5 years as a military intelligence veteran. I served with both the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment in the Army and later on with NATO. Deployed overseas to an operation called Bosnia and Kosovo, and I spent some time there in the Balkans region. I currently serve as the business unit security officer for the telecommunication systems business area for Dell Technologies. So I have 184 countries that I manage. I've gotten some awards here this year for the work that we're doing with Raíces Cyber, which I'll talk a little bit about, but that's not the focus on this. I serve as a board member for the Military Cyber Professionals Association, the Black Girls Hack, the Latinx Digital Leaders Now in Chicago. And I've worked cybersecurity in about 25 countries. So it's not just in the US that I've done the work, cybersecurity professional. I just recently authored a book called Cybersecurity, Unlock Your Potential, The Beginner's Guide, to a rewarding career. And I'll talk to you guys about, my rewarding career. And I always tell people if it wasn't a rewarding career, I wouldn't have been doing it for 35 years. I'm originally from San Juan, Puerto Rico. I am the father of 8 children, 7 boys, 1 girl. And I have an overachiever son who went to Army West Point, went to medical school, and is now in residence. So it's a little bit about me. So, I started a foundation called Raíces Cyber. And this foundation, the way that it came about was about 3.5 years ago, a couple people came back from after we were coming out of COVID and stuff, and they went to a cybersecurity conference. And they came back and said, Eric, we only saw a handful of Hispanics and Latinos in this conference. And I said, yeah, that's par for the course. For the first 20 years of my career, nobody kind of looked like this. But that got me thinking, and I said, well, is there something for Hispanics and Latinos and underrepresented organizations out there? And after speaking to different organizations, after speaking to corporate people, I found out there were no, call it organizations or foundations that were dedicated to bringing in more Hispanics, more Latinos, more people of underrepresented BIPOC community. There were pockets of that in different organizations, but not one organization. And then, as per magic, the ISC Squared and Aspen Digital Group came out with their diversity index for that year, and it was only 4% of the cybersecurity workforce was Hispanic or Latino. And I said, well, got to do this. And we started Raíces Cyber. So our mission is to inspire, empower, and encourage people to come into this field, right? And to give them the resources. And we're doing that with, education, supporting the education, not just, you guys are going through some really good courses there. But it's like, what do we do after, right? Sometimes you guys do something, you guys learn something in school, and then you don't use it. You did it in a lab, and then you don't use it, and then you lose it, right? The networking, right? So here's I'm going to give you your first nugget of information here, okay? Write this down. It's not what you know, it's who you know, okay? Especially in the field of cybersecurity. Networking is vital in the field of cybersecurity. There are times that there are 20 people applying for the same job, but if you know somebody or you are known, you're probably going to get the job first. You're going to get that job. So networking is important. Mentoring. By the same token, having somebody who's been in the field to help you, to guide you, to tell you the truths, of what it is. And today we're going to talk about some myths, and we're talking about a little bit about the future of cybersecurity and what is happening in the real world here. Okay. And then of course having resources for you guys to be able to continue. So in the 3 years that I've held this or started this organization, we've gotten a lot of support. We are part of the National Workforce and Education Strategy with the White House. I've served in that capacity. We are an educational partner of the National Security Agency. We're also one of 4 nonprofits that have been designated as National Cyber Workforce Partners for Google. Amazon is a VIP sponsor, and we work with Cyber Command, CISA, cyber.org, NIST, and a lot of other organizations out there. This is a smattering of all the different organizations that work and support and work alongside us. And we are now over 7,000 members in 29 city chapters across the United States. And we now have 4 international. So now we're the international society. But we have places in Toronto, Canada, Tijuana, Santiago, Dominican Republic, and San Juan, Puerto Rico. So we've grown a lot. And we've got our Discord with about 2,500 professionals all over the world in there. So I will later on send a link to invite you all to join us there as well. So Raíces started with a community, and we have grown our mission a lot. We now have cyber workforce development classes that we're doing, certification, scholarship support, cohorts. We're doing a new program called Raíces Cyber Youth Corps for K through 12 across the nation. And then we also have the Raíces Cyber Scholars. So being able to set up a club similar to what FAST does, but for doing more learning, networking, and support like that. Our closest chapter to you guys currently is the Inland Empire chapter, where we have like monthly meetups or video calls or something like that we have professionals coming in and talking. So I encourage you guys to branch out, get into other organizations as well, so that you can enhance and support your networking of in the group. So I'm gonna kind of go through here real quick. If a great way to join us and be part of it is go on LinkedIn. One of the things that I tell everybody, and here's nugget number 2. You guys are all going through school, learning different topics in cybersecurity, in the field of cybersecurity. Look, one of the things that I tell everybody is learn in public. Okay. Make sure that early on you've got a really good LinkedIn profile, and everything you're doing, every class you're doing, every project you're doing, put it in there. Put a post, do a post, learn in public, because you're going to be recognized as somebody that's going to be somebody in this field. I have countless stories of people who started their career in learning with something as simple as a blog post, right? And they were doing blog posts because they wanted to have a record of what things they were learning. Those people now have YouTube channels and have, a major following on Twitter and all these other things, and they get jobs really quick. So learning in public is a great strategy for getting noticed, getting out there and getting that first job. So connect with us on LinkedIn, please. If you haven't done so, there is the thing. So you guys can learn. And last year, this is a picture of me with the Latin American team, bringing all those folks in from the different countries to participate in the international cyber competition. That's kind of the Olympics of the cyber world, and they were held last year in San Diego. This year, I think they're in Italy. So it's a yeah. So it's a great organization to be part of, and you guys can, go to the combine and be part of that organization. All right, so I'm not going to bore you anymore with, what the organization that we started there. So I want you guys to make this a little bit of interactive. Some of the things that I'm going to tell you, the first part that I'm going to tell you guys is, when people ask me, how do I get into cyber? Or how do I learn cyber? I'm hoping that I'm preaching to the choir, but that is the biggest misnomer that there is. The first myth that we're going to bust. Cybersecurity is not a job, period. It's a career field. It's the same thing as telling you, hey, I want to learn healthcare. That doesn't sound right, right? There's doctors, there's nurses, there are EMTs, there's office managers, there are instructors, there's all these X-ray technicians. Those are all the trades in the field of healthcare, right? Well, in the field of cybersecurity, we've got, I think at the last count, it was like 55 or 60 different trades in the field. Did you guys know that? Come on, give me a thumbs up if you know that. All right, good.
Yeah, there's
All right.
quite a few different jobs in the field because I know that there's a lot of different specializations that you could go into.
Correct. And what happens? So when you go to school, when you go to any college in the United States, they talk about, cybersecurity as a general concept, right? Learning your networking, learning your, CIA. Who knows what CIA is? Not the agency, but who knows what CIA is? Can somebody say it?
Confidentiality. Um,
All
if
right.
I
You got
part
one. You got one. Let's go to the classroom.
Anyone in the room?
In the room.
Yeah, confidentiality, integrity, and availability.
Boom, you got it. Those are the things, right? But then from there we go, right? And you guys have heard of the terms blue team, red team, right? So what's the blue team?
Say that one more time, Josh.
What is the blue team? What is blue team?
They're a defending team.
Defending team. All right. What's the red team?
They're the contesting attacking team.
Okay. What is the purple team?
The referees.
A little bit of both, right? And what is the green team?
Never heard of that one. I'll guess referee.
Green team is well, it's one of my concepts, but that's your governance, risk, and compliance teams, right? That's not talking about all the jobs in identity management, security for AI, all these different areas, right? And in these broad concepts, we have in the blue team, we've got your SecOps people, your security operations center people, your firewall managers, all these different, your, next generation AV people. There's so many different jobs, your VRM people. And then you've got your red team, right? One of the other myths that I want to bust here, it is essential for all of us to know how the enemy attacks us, how the bad guys out there attack us, how the hackers attack us, how the state attack us. But guess what? Red team jobs are not entry-level positions. I'm going to repeat that. Red team jobs are not entry-level positions. We do a disservice, and I was just at the White House last week, and I said this directly to the National Cyber Director. I said, we are doing a disservice to students that are out there learning as one thing, red team as an entry-level position. Why? Because they learn. You get your OSCP, you get your CEH, you get all these certificates, right? And what hits you in the face? You got no experience. I always like to tell people, red teams, it's great to learn how to hack, great to learn how to do all these reverse engineering things and all that good stuff. But you need 3 to 5 years at a minimum to get a red team job, a pen test job. Okay. So it's really not an entry level job. It's great to learn how this thing is happening, how these things happen, so that we can defend better. But focus for that first job, for that first thing that you're doing. Focus on the jobs that are out there. And most of the jobs that are out there are your security operations, your security engineering, your security operations, security engineering, installers, network security, those types of jobs. That's going to give you that first job. Now, the next myth that I want you guys to remember is that the field of cybersecurity has so many different things to do that you might start in one of these security operations and you season yourself. And in a year, that company might say, hey, we need somebody to do vulnerability management. And then you transition to that. Or, hey, we just bought 15 firewalls and there are these next generation cook your breakfast firewalls, right? Can you come help us install that? And you learn as you go. It's a field that you learn as you go. I will tell you guys this. When I started in the field, we had, AS400s, VAX VMSs, big, one computer was the size of that room that you guys are sitting there at school. If I didn't learn the technology as I went on, I would have been left with those dinosaurs. But one of the other myths about cybersecurity is that you must learn to learn. I repeat that. You must learn to learn. Okay. We have so much new technology coming up every single day, every single year, every single month, that if you don't keep your skills sharp, you're going to be left behind. So one of the things that I tell anybody who's entering the field of cybersecurity is this: learn, be curious, learn new things, keep learning, never stop learning. It is going to be your biggest tool, is learning. The other thing that I tell people is, do you really think that I remember everything that I've learned over 35 years? I've forgotten more than I've learned, or something like that. Okay. So what makes me a big, sharp tool in the world of cybersecurity is that I know where to find the information. One of the questions that I ask people, okay, when I hire people, and I've hired thousands of people in my career, is this. I'm going to give you guys a question, right? I have given you this widget. I need you to tell me how it works and how to install it. How do you go find out? Somebody on the line, answer me that question.
Google.
I would Google it, I would use ChatGPT, kind of documentation, that kind of thing.
Stop. You're hired. I want somebody to tell me I will Google it or I will YouTube it. Why? Because that tells me that you're curious enough to go research it, to go be a self-starter and go research it. That one of the, do you guys know what GTS is?
I can Google it.
Never heard of it.
Google that stuff. So when I tell somebody, it's like, hey, go GTS it. All right. Google it. Go learn it. Go become the expert in that 24 hours, and then come to your boss and say, okay, this is what I found. This is how installed. This is how it works. This is what it does good. If I see that, that is worth a thousand other people. When I've got somebody who's curious, who can learn, who can research, who can find the information. Why? I bet you guys, who's almost a graduate here? Okay. If I asked you a question about the thing you learned the first week of your first semester, you're probably going to go like, I got my books over there. I'll go look it up. It's the same concept. Research. In the field of cybersecurity, you are going to learn different things. You're going to forget them. You're going to forget how to do this. You're going to forget how to do this command. You know, the joke in the industry is, how do you exit Vim, right? You know, I don't know if I'm dating myself with that one, but how do you exit Vim, right? And half of us have to go into Google and say, how do you exit Vim, right? I say :WQ pound, right? I think that's it. So that's very important, that you must learn to learn, and you must learn how to research things. And throughout your whole career, if you look at the NIST and all the different positions that are out there, the NIST NICE framework, I think I've participated, done, or managed probably about 80 or 90% of those jobs in my 35 years experience. Okay. And it's because I've learned, I've been there, I've experienced it, and then I've researched this stuff and been part of that. Okay. You know, one of the jokes, if you guys look me up on LinkedIn, the first thing you'll see is it says a recovering CISO, right? I've been a chief information security officer for big organizations 3 times. I don't want to do it again. But because of that, I've managed all the different branches of security in an organization. So learning to learn those different things and learning the new technology is very important. You know, I started out my career with a lot of forensics work. Early on in my, I think I was like 7 or 10 years into my career, and I did a lot of forensic stuff. Okay. And back then it was only disk forensics. I love that. I love that field. That was great. I burnt out, right? And then I did something else. The wonderful thing about the field of cybersecurity is you can always move laterally, move to another area, learn a new thing. And again, I love to learn. Now, what's going on in the field right now? You know, everything's changing. Everything's changing. We've got people out there that are just saying, you know, we're done. AI is here. It's going to take our jobs, right? Well, the reality is, no, it's not. AI is just a tool. And it is just a tool the same way that cloud was a tool back then. And everybody's like, oh, well, all the networking people are not going to have a job because everything's going to be in the cloud. Well, what is a cloud? It's just other people's servers, right? So there's the need for those network architects and network engineers and all that stuff in the cloud, right? So it's not that the jobs are going to go away, it's that our focus is going to slightly change. So when we look at AI right now, and I'm part of a couple of groups that are doing AI in 5G. I'm doing AI in we call it in, for, and against. Okay, so if you might hear those terms. So how do we look at AI? And again, Did my statement about AI raise anybody's hairs in the back of their neck? Well, the reality is AI is a term similar to cybersecurity, the field of cybersecurity. AI, or artificial intelligence, is an umbrella term. And what we're seeing right now are not AI. We're looking at ML models. We're looking at NLP. Okay. Does anybody know what those are? ML is what?
Machine learning,
NLP.
natural language processing,
Okay. And then what is ChatGPT?
We're gonna talk about it.
not machine learning, not AI.
Oh.
Well, a little bit, but mostly
Well,
natural
it's an
language processing,
AI model that does what?
NLP.
Want to talk about it?
Yeah.
Basically, it's a large language model. Essentially, how it works is once it's been it's trained on a huge swath of data that teaches it what words come most commonly after previous words. And then when you give it a prompt, it will respond based on what it's been trained on, it will respond in the most likely answer to that prompt. Basically, when you give it a prompt, it will respond in what it thinks is the most common way to respond to that prompt.
Okay. And a um that is a NLP trained on a large language model, right? That you're doing. And that will then give you something, right? So now we're using these models that we call generative AI, right? And that's what ChatGPT, um, Gemini, Copilot, they're generative AI models, right? They are taking all of this and doing that. Well, we're not going to get to true AI for many, many years because from the generative AI, then we move to AGI, and then we move to different other models. They're foundational. Okay. Um, so one of the things that we look at in cybersecurity is how do we, or now in this new models, is number one, how do we secure our use of AI? How do we secure an AI adversary or an adversary using AI against us? And then how do we secure the AI that is in our products? Okay. That's kind of the next, call it, generation of security jobs that we have here. So let me give you guys a breakdown of that. So AI, right? Or we have a gen AI model, right? What are the risks to me training my data on my information? And now I've got an AI model, a large language model or a generative AI model inside my organization, and I want to keep it secure. What are two areas that I want to look at for that? I'm in a company. I'm not using, ChatGPT or anything. I'm using the AI model in my company. I want to make sure that, again, the hardware and the software that is hosting this is secure. So we're using our traditional models of securing that model, securing those computers. At the end of it, GPUs, NPUs, it's a computer, right? It's a computer that's running this, right? So we want to secure that computer, right? And with no vulnerabilities, no other. The software itself, making sure that it is free from vulnerabilities and risks, right? And then the third issue that we have to look at is how do we ensure that that model is not poisoned, right? And what's poisoning? What does anybody know what poisoning a large language model is?
That it has wrong information that can hurt the answers that you
Correct.
give.
Correct. It's giving it wrong information. Who guy who of you guys know about Tie.ai? Anybody know about Tie?
Is it one of those ones that was like training on stuff and a bunch of racist people gave it racist information and it started being racist.
So it was the first iteration of Copilot for Microsoft.
Oh,
They were trying to do a large language model. And what did they do? They let it loose on Twitter. And within 24 hours, everybody just spammed it and memed it to hell. And guess what happened? It turned into a complete thing. Microsoft had to literally yank the cord on it. So that is something that we as security professionals need to start looking at. How do we make sure that the data that we're training models are secure, are the data that is expected? So that's how we look at in, an AI security in a model, right? The next one is how do we ensure that our adversaries are not using AI to attack us? Okay. Some of the AI models out there can do, I'm sure you guys know about voice.ai, where you can impersonate people and stuff like that. How can I use that to attack, say, a company? Can somebody give me how would I use voice AI to attack a company? Okay, in the room over there. Go.
You could use voice AI to attack a company. If you can get like a clip of like the CEO doing a speech, you could train it on the CEO and like try to impersonate or like a C-suite employee. You could just impersonate a random person and have like a perfect chatbot that will claim to be a repairman technician or something. All kinds of things you can do based on that.
Correct. You can do vishing with a voice AI that sounds and looks like the CEO saying, "Hey, I'm at the airport. I need $5,000. Could you please, wire me $5,000 here?" It sounds like the CEO. Yes, sir. I'm going to send you the money, right? And now the company's $5,000, um, poorer. So we look at that phishing. At my company, they did a test the other day where they used a model to impersonate the CISO, and they took his pictures, they trained a model on his, and they sent a video to a couple people. And guess what? It looked and sounded just like him. So it was kind of eerie, especially because nobody had shown him that they did that. And when he saw it, he was like, "Ah, okay." It's actually very funny because it was in a town hall too with 1,400 people. That was funny as heck. Um, and then now a lot of companies are putting AI in products, right? We already had some. You guys know what, you got your Alexas here, which are doing natural language processing. You've got your phones that are doing AI in the program. So what are things that we're doing now? So now that we have all this, now guess what? Now there's a whole field that was created for cybersecurity professionals that understand and know the vulnerabilities and the weaknesses of a AI model, of AI products, of AI software. So while some of the jobs that we historically had, we just need to, again, based on the myth that I told you that AI is going to replace you and take your job, you just need to learn a little more. Like I said, learn to learn, love to learn. Now you learn those things. Now you can use those tools. Now you can be a cybersecurity professional with AI credentials. That's going to be very, very important here in the future. Right now we already have people that we're looking for people who have this knowledge. And a lot of this knowledge is going to be self-taught, so it is essential that we always, as a cybersecurity professional, that we're looking at the market, that we're not just heads down on what we're doing, but looking at the market, looking at what's happening, looking at the new things that are coming so we can train on those models, so we can train on that new technology, so we can become more employable and more of an asset to both your company, your school, and your community. Because a lot of times what happens is somebody knows that you're in cybersecurity, and if something happens, let's see, how many of you have gotten the infamous message saying, my Facebook was hacked, can you help me? Right? I get that at least 3 times a day. So as cybersecurity professionals, we are there defending everything, right? You have to be the voice to your own community to tell, okay, boomer, you need to put my multi-factor authentication so you don't get hacked. Okay. Continue to do that. Continue to be the champion of that. All right. So I'm going to stop here and I'm going to open the floor for you guys to pepper me with questions. Go ahead and raise your hand. Um, and let's go for it. Okay.
I think we'll start with the in-person questions first, and then we'll move on to the people on Zoom. You could also, for the people on Zoom, if you want to ask any questions in chat, we'll go ahead and answer them as well. But I believe, Joshua, you have a question?
What's the dumbest security flaw you've ever seen?
Say that again.
The dumbest security flaw you've ever seen.
Do you guys know what PEPCAT stand for? A PEPCAT vulnerability. I'm going to write it in the chat here. This is the dumbest vulnerability ever to man and the most threat that we have in the world. And you guys should learn PEPCAT. Does anybody know?
What is it, Tommy? Problem exists between keyboard and...
Yep. Problem exists between keyboard and chair. Who's between the keyboard and the chair? The person. Okay. The dumbest vulnerability is a person, right? That is the one thing that we fight. We can have the most super secure, everything, locked down, Mission Impossible kind of computer. And some stupid person can let somebody in. Okay. So I will tell you one of the things is human nature. That is the biggest vulnerability that we have.
Any other
I can go on and on the human element.
Does anyone in the room have any questions for Eric? I think we have a question in the chat by Joshua. If you want to go ahead and answer that one.
So you mentioned self-learning. Can you provide some of my favorite resources? Wow, there's a lot of them. So again, it depends on your field of study and your interest. I tell people stay on message and stay informed with things like the Hacker News, right? Read the enroll yourself for the email for the Hacker News. And you will see every morning the different attacks that are happening. Learn about those attacks. Learn what's happening in the world. Okay. Sometimes it's, we've seen a lot of attacks over the years. Let me pull one of the big ones recently, Log4j, right? And Log4j is a, software module that is supported by a third-party person, but it's so valuable that almost every software in the world used it for displaying things. Well, nobody knew that, right? One of the things that is happening over the last couple of years, because we're solidifying our things so much, hackers and state, how do I say it? State sponsors are looking at vulnerabilities, older vulnerabilities that have gone unpatched. So things like Microsoft vulnerabilities from 2017 that people don't think to patch, they're exploiting that. So these kinds of things are shown in kind of the hacker news, right? The other places to look at, I tell people don't don't sleep on YouTubes. Don't sleep on actual professional YouTubes out there, right? Philip Wiley is one of my good friends, and he's got a great podcast in YouTube, right? You've got, Neil. You've got um, well, there's so many of the podcasters out there that listening to these podcasts and watching these YouTube shows are great material for you to learn. And then also don't sleep on Udemy, right? Udemy, right? Depends on whatever you pronounce it. But don't sleep on that, right? There's some courses you can get for like $20. I always wait until they're cheap, they're on the cheap, right? And take some courses like that, right? Be part of the communities, right? Like in our community in Raíces Cyber, which is, by the way, open to anybody. You don't have to be Hispanic or anything like that. But we give out Security Plus, Google Cybersecurity Certificate, and all those other things free for you guys to get certified, right? And we have cohorts. And then finally, one of my best ways to learn, ask somebody. I don't know if there's any security person in here that doesn't want to talk your ear off about the thing that they're most passionate about. You learn so much from from the graybeards, right? You shall not pass. No, ask us, reach out, say, be bold and say, listen, I I would love to talk to you. Can you spare half an hour? I have a bunch of questions. Come armed with questions, right? And that's how you learn a lot of stuff.
I just want to quickly add too, we on the FAST Discord, there is a specific channel called, I think, Cyber Prep, which has a whole bunch of resources that I listed out at the beginning of the semester. If you want to find more specific resources that are not only on YouTube or courses, but both free and paid, there's a lot of options there. So if you want to check that out just to see what is available, because there are a lot of resources available and you'll be able to find something that suits you. You could go ahead and use that as well.
I put the Discord for us. If you're not part of that, you can, come in and join as well. Okay. It's free. Okay. Alex says, you mentioned AI as an emerging development in the field. What are other things you see as developments we should watch out for? Foreign adversaries, APTs, new types of cyber crimes. Right now, the biggest thing is AI, of course, as you guys have heard that. There's a lot of issues in the privacy space. Okay, so if you want to be in demand, in demand, yes, in demand, privacy is a big thing. California passed the California Privacy Act. New York is following suit there. GDPR in the EU. China just passed a privacy law that's very restrictive. So you've got a lot of areas there on the privacy front, on the governance, risk, and compliance. The other thing I know, we always like to gravitate to the technical piece, but there are trades in the field of cybersecurity that are non-technical. You've got people who are doing things like governance, who are doing things like vulnerability management, and vulnerability management, not just as in patching things, but the process of, what's the hardest part of vulnerability management? It's not finding this stuff. It's not putting the numbers. It's getting people to fix the things, right? We have another term. Okay. Have you ever heard of that one? I put it in the chat. Okay. How many times have you guys? I'll take that. I'll push that patch for later on, right? I don't have time right now, right? Between the time that you did that and you took it, somebody could have attacked you. Okay. When I go and look at criticals and highs in an organization, and I see that organization, bigger organizations, just so that you guys know, we're looking at millions of patches, right? When you're looking at an organization, right? Each computer could have 15,000 patches that need to be applied, right? On a server. Well, guess what? Next week, you'll have another 7,000 patches. So that management of getting people to do their stuff and patching their stuff isn't it requires a lot of interpersonal stuff. Do not sleep on the interpersonal skills that you need. Okay. All right. Well, again, I'm going to thank you guys. I'm going to thank Cal Polyfast for inviting me to speak here. Again, if you want to touch base with me, reach out to me on LinkedIn. Please follow Raices Cyber Org on LinkedIn as well. Get into the Discord there. We all have to help each other. Doesn't matter what organization it is, we're all in this together. Because at the end of the day, when you guys leave here and get that job and work at a company or work in the government, we're all here for the same reason. We're here to protect and defend our infrastructure. So again, thank you very much to everybody.
Thank you so much, Eric. I'd like to ask this one final question to all our guest speakers. I think the majority of your presentation pretty much answers this question overall, but as college students, what is something that we could be doing maybe even right now, or just, I guess, sort of like that next step in our college career? What do you really recommend us to do if we really want to get into the career and we really want to grow?
Network, learn in public. So like I mentioned, the biggest things that you can do is get out there, put yourself out there, network, connect with other people, Twitter, LinkedIn, those kinds of things. Get known so that it makes it easier for you to get that next job. The other thing is, I will tell you guys the biggest thing that you can come with a degree from Harvard or pick your Ivy League college, right? And you have no experience, you're not going to get hired. So volunteer with your local community center, small business, get some experience, some real life experience. Experiential learning matters. And it doesn't matter if it's not paid, if it's an internship, if it's not thing, put it on that resume, put it on that LinkedIn. You've done it. That's experience. CTFs, being part of those organizations, do it. Make sure you have that experiential learning to tie into your education. That's going to pay dividends for you guys.
Thank you so much, Eric. I think that's about all the time we have left so much. Again, I think everything in your presentation was really insightful, and I can't thank you enough for the wise words that you're able to give today.
Thank you.
With that said, I think this is going to be the end of the meeting. Thank you all for, whether you're in person or in Zoom, thank you all for showing up. And I'll hope to see you this Friday for the cybersecurity workshop as usual.
Take care, everybody.
Okay. Thank you so much, Eric. Bye-bye.